What is going on, Colts Nation? And welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Cody here, and joining me from the Inside the Horseshoe podcast, we got our friend Matt back on it. Matt, how are you doing, man? With the whole draft being over, we finally know who the quarterback is. We finally know who the Colts are picking. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, just getting ready for, training camp and, some of the other mini camps that are gonna happen throughout the year. Very excited about the new guys coming in. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that whole thing. And guys, if you notice by the topic of the video, we're going to kind of be having a little bit of a debate here. We're going to kind of present some pros and cons for the new Indianapolis Colts quarterback of the future, Anthony Richardson, who the Colts took fourth overall in this draft. And so wanted to kind of start with some of the cons because there are a little bit of both here. Wanted to start with some of the cons to why some people maybe think that maybe Richardson shouldn't start right away. I think the first thing you got to say, Matt, is, it's going to probably likely be tough early on for Anthony Richardson because he does have a lack of experience, even at the collegiate level, just a lack of, starting reps, if you will. And so it's probably not going to be super pretty. It's definitely not going to be Andrew Luck in 2012. It's not going to be, some of these guys and even some quarterbacks that were a lot more refined coming out of college struggled early on. So it's more than likely going to be probably a little bit tough for Anthony Richardson right away. If he were to start, the team might struggle. He'll probably have his share of struggles as well. And you just kind of wonder, like, are you okay with that? What are your overall thoughts, man, when it comes to the whole idea of Anthony Richardson kind of maybe being that guy, but there might be some struggles early on.
Yeah, no, overall, I do agree it's gonna be really tough for him early on. He's played 13 games as a starter in college. He's 20 years old. I mean, we saw Trevor Lawrence's rookie year. A lot of people expected him to be the best prospect since Andrew Luck and John Elway, and he had a lot of issues early on. Now, granted, he had Urban Meyer as his head coach, so that's obviously gonna cause a lot of issues, but still, he's considered one of the better prospects at quarterback coming out of college. I mean, you had guys like Colin Cowherd after his freshman year saying, hey, he should be entering the draft now. That's how good he was considered. So there's obviously going to be a lot of, there's going to be trouble early on, some tough times for Anthony Richardson when he's out there on the field. He's going to make a lot of mistakes. And, like there's going to be things he's going to have to learn on the fly that he's just going to have to adjust. Like his footwork is something he's going to have to work on, and that I think is going to be a problem early on for him. So I do agree it's going to be really tough early on if he goes out there and starts from day one.
Yeah. And again, we will see, what happens there, but it will be definitely there will be the share of struggles like you talked about with Richardson. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of it, especially as a rookie, and especially because of the lack of experience there. All quarterbacks, no matter who it would be, probably coming in as rookies, will have their fair share of struggles. So, I mean, it's just probably a little bit more with the guy that hasn't played hardly at all. Definitely at the college level and obviously the NFL level as well. So that will be definitely something that would be a con right away, would just be that. But you do kind of wonder with that. And the Colts are going to have to obviously weigh this. Anthony Richardson seems like a guy that's super confident in his abilities, super confident in the things that he knows he can do well, but also is very aware, I think, of the things that he needs to do better in, the things he needs to grow in. And I just kind of wonder, like, if it does get tough, does that potentially impact his confidence, right? We've seen quarterbacks that have been thrown out there from day number one and, they got beat up, they got hit, they got, they made a lot of mistakes and their confidence just took us, it just plummeted. It just completely went from here all the way down. And you do wonder, like, if that happens and the Colts really do struggle and Richardson really is having a hard time, could that potentially affect his confidence in the negative?
Yeah, and like social media is, going to play a big factor in that too if he's starting to lose his confidence because, unlike when Peyton Manning played, his rookie year, and unlike when some of these other guys, that were able to develop and improve as their careers went on, like in the early 2000s, social media wasn't a big factor at all. Like it just wasn't. I mean, you look at like just an example, not a player, but like Marcus Freeman, when he was coaching, he would be on social media all the time, and he talked about how after you know, their first game with him as defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, where everybody was saying, "Oh, you're terrible, you stink. Why would you do this?" He had to throw away social media. He had to like force himself to be off of it because he knows it can affect him mentally. And Anthony Richardson could be super confident entering training camp, but when he's going through issues, there's going to be fans out there saying some really bad things and mean things about him. That could affect him too, where he could be like, "Oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not good and stuff." And what the coaches need to do is they got to be there and they got to watch him and they got to watch his confidence. And if he starts to look like he's losing it, they got to go in there and hype him up and just reassure him that, hey, you're going to have issues early on. All rookies are going to have issues early on. Peyton Manning didn't just become one of, if not the greatest quarterback of all time his rookie year. He had, and I believe he still has the record for most interceptions thrown by a rookie in a season. So, like confidence could definitely be affected. And if it does look like it's going to be affected a little bit, the coaches have to step in and help him. Hopefully, he's somebody that realizes, hey, there's issues, obviously. There's going to be problems early on, but I can get better from this. So confidence definitely can be affected.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, with any young guy, especially Richardson, be 21 years old by the time the season starts. He definitely doesn't seem like the typical 21-year-old, though, Matt. He definitely seems
Yeah.
like a guy who's got a really good head on his shoulders. It feels like he's not gonna really let the outside dictate kind of who he is. But with any young guy, it does bear monitoring because it's not if they will struggle, it's when they will struggle. And how do
Yeah.
you deal with that? How do they deal with that? And how do they come back from that? And how do they respond? And obviously, the Colts spent a ton of time with these guys, and Richardson especially, asking them these questions. And he did go through some hard times last year in Florida, with the kind of the mediocre record, not great stats at times, some really hard games that he played. So, hopefully that's a good indication to them that he's a guy that can handle it. He's a guy that
Yeah.
will learn from it. He won't take it too hard. Just kind of like with so many different positions, right? You have to move on. You can't just stay back on the things you didn't do well. You move forward, on to the next one, right? So hopefully
Mhm.
that's the case here with Richardson, and the Colts will obviously just have to monitor that as it goes along. My last thing I want to kind of talk about as well is just, if both of them, Richardson and Minshew, they're competing for that starting spot, and this is just not ready. He's not there. Like it's clear to everybody in that room, in that locker room, in that coaching staff that Gardner Minshew at the time is the better quarterback option for the Colts. And the Colts elect to go with Richardson anyways. Could that potentially negatively impact the locker room? Like I know everybody's excited for
Yeah.
Richardson, but you preach competition, you preach the best players going to play, and I understand that Richardson fully, is a guy that's, your first round rookie versus a guy you signed on a 1 year deal. But like, could that potentially be, for especially for some of those veterans who they don't have 5 to 10 years, right? They have the
Right. that like they want to win now. I mean, everybody wants to win now, but like they don't have as much leeway as some of the other guys on the roster. So like how would they view that? Like how would they view that? I guess it's just something that could potentially be a negative that you could lose some of those vets. You could run into a situation last year where you had guys asking to be traded away. Like I'm not saying Yeah.
that's going to happen or not, but that potentially could be something that if it's very clear to everybody one way that Minshew's better at that point, and you elect to go with Richardson, despite the fact that he's not there, could that hurt some of the locker room morale with some of those older guys?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely could be a con too with Minshew not starting, even if Minshew is better. Because, and I know we talked about earlier before we started recording, but it's almost like a transfer situation where you'll have a player that transfers from another school, they'll come in, and let's say they're not as good as another player that plays their position. But if you go with the transfer as a starter, it can cause some issues in the locker room where they're like, hey, we know our guy's better, we know this guy is better than this guy. Why are you not playing the better player? Doesn't seem like you want to win as much. And I know it's not exactly the same, when it comes to transfers compared to draft picks, but there could be a lot of players that are at the point, like, let's say, DeForest Buckner and Leonard and all these guys that are, 28, 29 years old, and they wanna win now. If they see Minshew and they think he's better than Richardson, if you go with Richardson, that could cause some issues with some of the older guys. Now, there could be some vets that'll be like, "Look, we understand this is for, you know, the betterment of the team, maybe not right now, but for the next 5 to 10 years." So, some players might understand it, but there definitely could be some players that wouldn't be happy if they went with Richardson, even if Minshew was the better player.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I could see that. I could see that being the case. And, yeah, if I was a vet, I could see both sides of it. I think, honestly, it's like
Mhm,
on one hand, you want to win now, but also the future is now. So I don't know if that would be an issue, but it definitely, I think, bears monitoring nonetheless. Well, let's
mhm,
move into some of the pros now because there are a lot of pros. We obviously know Anthony Richardson, the athletic freak he is, broke all those combine records. He's got a little bit of everything. He's got the size, the speed, the athleticism, everything. But in terms of Richardson, I think like if out of all these quarterbacks, if you think of it like a piece of clay, if you will, right? I think he is the one prospect that he is because of his lack of experience, he has so much he can be molded. He is like the most moldable, clay, if you will, of any of these quarterbacks, right? He's not set in his ways like maybe some of these other quarterbacks are just because he hasn't had that experience. And so I kind of look at that and I say, you know what? Like he can be taught a lot of these things. We've already seen him get better. And again, he has a long way to go. He's not near where he should be, but
mhm.
he definitely has already shown it. I mean, from what we've seen, he's better than he was last year at Florida. And so he has
Right.
this drive, man, to get better every day, which I think is a great mindset. And he knows that yes, he has the ability, but he also knows he needs to develop a lot in his game. And so for that, I think the pro, yeah, while it's a pro and a con here, and the con we talked about the first one,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be tough early on. He's going to have his struggles, but
Yeah.
with that being said, the best way that Anthony Richardson, in my opinion, can become the best quarterback he can become and develop as a quarterback is to play early and to play often. I really do think that that is the best way to go because experience, Matt, is the
Mhm.
best teacher.
Yeah, definitely. And I know there's some teams that are, they have the mindset of, well, let's not throw this guy out there right away. Let's play somebody else until that guy is ready. Like Carolina is one that comes to mind where they're like, yeah, we might not play Bryce Young right away. We might go Andy Dalton, but then eventually when Bryce is ready, we'll go with him. I think they're gonna go Bryce week one. I think that's honestly coach talk. I think they're just saying that to say it, but I don't like the idea of just playing a vet and waiting until you feel the rookie is ready to go out there because the only way for this guy to improve as fast as he could is if you throw him out there right away, week one. Yes, Anthony Richardson is going to make mistakes. He's obviously going to do that. Every rookie is going to make mistakes, okay? Like Peyton Manning didn't become one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time by sitting on the bench until he was ready. He went out there. He still has the record for most interceptions thrown by a rookie in a season. He made a lot of mistakes, but we saw as the season progressed and we saw at the end of the season, this guy could be a really, really good quarterback. And clearly, Peyton Manning was. Anthony Richardson's going to make mistakes. I mean, look at Trevor Lawrence, another example where a lot of people looked at him, said he should have came out after his freshman year. Talking about Colin Cowherd there, but a lot of people considered him one of the best prospects since Andrew Luck, John Elway, Peyton Manning. And he had a lot of issues too. But as he was playing, as he developed, on the field, he got better. He got better pretty quick. And obviously, after this past season, a lot of people consider him a top five, top 10 quarterback. And, the year prior, nobody thought that at all. So I think for Anthony Richardson, the best way for him to improve and improve fast is for him to be out there on the field. He's not going to get better holding a clipboard. Yes, issues will happen for sure, but he's going to get used to the game. He's going to develop, and I think that's the best way for him to improve. So that I definitely agree with that being a pro.
And I think also another pro to having Richardson play out there from day number one is just the fact that all these receivers that the Colts have, their top three
Mhm.
guys ideally are going to be all 25 years old or younger. And
Yeah.
so, especially Josh Downs coming out, as a rookie as well, you develop that chemistry often, early and often with these receivers. And also guys like Jelani Woods and Kylan Granson and all those young tight ends the Colts have there, right? They have a chance to develop with their future at quarterback right away, right? And they have a
Mhm.
chance to build that camaraderie. I mean, we saw it even from year number one, Matt. Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton. We saw what that became right away,
Yep.
right? We saw with Peyton Manning right away with Marvin Harrison. Like he did, and Reggie Wayne. Like these guys, like they
Mhm.
developed together, and that's what I think the Colts are trying to do here, and they need to do. And that's a pro. Why you would bring in and start Richardson week one is because he needs to build this chemistry with these guys now, right? You
Yeah.
need to see what you got with these guys. And the types of receivers that work well with Richardson, the type of guys you want to get around him to maximize the most out of him. And so I think just that chemistry alone with these receivers is definitely a pro for why you want him out there.
There's like little things that receivers and quarterbacks they learn about each other, just little tricks that they can use on the field that they don't have to say anything. They just both know it. Like they both know where one is going, where that ball is going, all that fun stuff. I mean, you looked at Andrew Luck. Like Andrew Luck could just throw it 50 yards down the field. It didn't matter where. And at first you would see that ball and be like, well, what is he doing? That there's nobody there, and then all of a sudden T.Y. Hilton comes out of nowhere and catches it. It's just there's things you learn that chemistry is very important between the quarterback and receiver. That's why when Wentz got here, we were all worried when he had that injury in training camp. We were worried that he was going to miss a ton of time because he needed to form that chemistry with receivers. And yeah, you're going to form that chemistry in training camp as well, but you know, as you play, as you continue to play together, there's just like I said, there's little things that you're going to learn about one another on the field that it's going to go a long way. So again, it's that chemistry, it's that development with one another. I mean, and it's not just with the receivers. I mean, you look at Jonathan Taylor, it's the way that you hand the ball off or the way you're going to do a play action with one another. With Taylor and Zach Moss and, Evan Hull and all these running backs that they potentially will have on roster. There's just things they're going to learn together. Like with Jelani Woods, him being 6'20" or whatever, him being super tall. Having him and Richardson on the field together, just with that size, Richardson's going to learn as they play together each week where to put that ball. Like, where is the right place to put the ball to where only Jelani Woods can get it? Like, there's little things they're going to learn just with that and just little tricks as well. So
Yep.
I agree with you. Chemistry is very important.
Absolutely. And then I think just the final thing, and this is more just like for fan base. I mean, this fan base, the last year and a half to 2 years, especially, they've been so tough on this fan base. I mean, it's been one of the hardest things. Just it feels like just recycling quarterback after quarterback and just kicking the can down the road another week, another year. And we were hoping last year with Matt Ryan it would be more than a 1 year thing. Obviously, didn't work out that way. Matt Ryan was, I think the worst of the options you brought in so far,
Yeah.
which is crazy, considering the fact that you couldn't ship off Wentz quick enough. But
Hmm.
with that being said, I think, just the rejuvenation of the fan base, while it may not be pretty early on, and there certainly will be the haters, there'll be the people that are upset, they're like, we should have taken Will Levis or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You hear him, you see him on Twitter, whatever.
Yep.
But
There's one guy.
yeah, we know who that is. But anyway, regardless of
Yeah.
how you do record wise, I think
Yeah.
just like the team's going to be fun because you're going to
Yeah.
have that youth at quarterback, that rejuvenation of the fan base. And the
Mhm.
big thing, Matt, is you're going to have hope for the first time in years when it comes to the quarterback position.
Yeah, and I mean, this kind of reminds me, even though I'm not a Pacers fan, it reminds me of the Pacers situation where that the fan base for the Pacers, they realize, oh yeah, look, odds are we're not going to be that great, but they're clearly building to something. They're getting young, and it makes everybody excited. Every fan base, when you're going through issues, over a certain amount of years, when you finally decide, hey, we're going to get younger in this area, it can really get a fan base pumped. Well, yes, there's going to be some fans that are going to just crap on Richardson and on this team in general. Like you said, there's going to be the Will Levis guys. There's the one on Twitter everybody knows. If you're on Colts Twitter for any amount of time, I'm not going to, say because I mean, I like the guy. It's just, it's just crazy. Will Levis is not my number one choice. Yeah, Will Levis is my number one choice. Okay, but there's gonna be people that will be like, "Oh, Richardson's terrible. We should have took Hendon Hooker. We should have took
Mhm.
Will Levis. We should have took Tanner McKee, um, Jake Hayner. Guys like that." There will be fans that will be like, "Oh, take Richardson out. Take so and so out. They're terrible." They're people that don't understand development and stuff like that. They expect the best right now. They're not willing to, you know, just like wait. But like you said, just getting a rookie quarterback, look at any post on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and you see all these fans that are just pumped and excited. And look, yeah, they might be excited even with Gardner Minshew out there. But if you put Richardson out there, the first time he runs on the field, that stadium is gonna go ballistic. Everybody's gonna be so pumped. Again, most people are gonna realize, yeah, we're not winning a Super Bowl this year. A lot of fans are like, I hope we suck because we can get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Joe Alt, which I mean, I'd be happy with Joe Alt personally, have him and Nelson together, my lord. But no, I mean, like you said, just the fans being excited, that's another benefit to having Richardson out there. Um, I think most of us agree. Not gonna be a great year, but it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be fun, and I think us as the fans are excited just to see, just the let it rip. I want to see Anthony Richardson just throw bombs. Like, look, let him throw bombs. Like, let him throw a 75-yard pass to Josh Downs. You want to talk about how excited everybody will be? You throw that 50 to 75-yard just ham canyon, like, or whatever, like, because
Cam Cannon,
apparently
yeah.
Richardson has a
Yep,
ham cannon.
right.
Like, you throw that ham 85 yards down the field to Josh Downs, everybody's gonna go ballistic. They're gonna go nuts. It's gonna be fun. I will be at the first game. The first home game, the first preseason home game, I will be at that because I just know these fans are gonna be pumped. Like,
Yes.
get to Lucas Oil Stadium at 4 o'clock in the morning because everybody's gonna be pumped at Touchdown Town or whatever it's called.
I tell you what, man, we are depraved, especially last year, of vertical passing. So if
Yes.
Anthony Richardson comes out there week one and throws a 70-yard touchdown, fans are going to lose it. Like,
I
it's going to be incredible.
I
And like, that's what we need. That's what fans have
I
needed. That's what fans have been
yeah,
deprived of, especially last year when we couldn't
yeah,
throw a
y
pass, past what, 20 yards or something.
yeah.
We just need that. And it's just like, that's just the hope of this
It's like
fan base. And we've needed it for so long. And there's finally, he may throw a 70-yard pass and then throw the dumbest interception you've ever seen.
yeah,
Like, he may do
I don't
that,
think
but like,
it's
at
like, it's
least you
fine.
have a hope, you know?
Yeah, it's like every time Matt Ryan threw a ball 30 yards or further, I was afraid that his arm was gonna dislocate and just pop off and it was gonna fly with the ball. I was terrified that was gonna happen. It was gonna smack Frank Reich in the face.
Yeah.
But no, I still look, like, even though we make jokes about Matt Ryan, the guy is just first class. Just, like I'm sure he was upset when he got benched, but he put that to the side and was like helping Ellinger and just, like you got to give him credit for that. And I do believe if Matt Ryan came to Indianapolis a year or two prior, I think we'd be having a much different conversation. I think, especially with how different the offensive line was from like 2 years ago to now, I think if you put Matt Ryan there, you probably would have different results. But yeah, like he couldn't really throw a ball more than 30 yards down the field. Um, I guess I had to be at the stadium for him to be able to do something successfully when it comes to throwing a football more than 20 yards. But yeah, I mean, I'm just excited. Look, I want Anthony Richardson first play, please. Shane Steichen, first pass. Let it be a 95-yard bomb. Let him just rip it. Let him rip it. Okay. Obviously, I want to see him throw the fade outs and like the shorter passes. Those tough, like you got to put in the right spot. 5 to 10 yards down the field. Like just barely over the shoulder at the sideline. I want to see him make some tough passes like that, but I want that 85-yard cannon of an arm. I want him to throw that ball so far. I want him to throw it into the stands at one point and let a fan catch the ball. Okay? That's what I want to see. 80 yards and it lands in my hands. That's what I want.
Yeah, I think you're not alone there. Just fans want to see something different, see something fresh, something young and
Yeah.
exciting. And I don't blame them. I'm the same way. After having to basically pour bleach in our eyes last year, watching this
Mhm.
Colts offense, it is definitely going to be a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
For better or for worse this year, it's definitely going to be a
I'll
breath of fresh air in terms of the
I'll
hope
tell
that
you
we're.
what though. I guarantee you we won't blow a 34-0 lead at halftime.
Oh gosh,
I guarantee we
I've
won't do
honestly
that.
blocked that whole season out at this
Or
point.
31-0, whatever it was.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
I was sleeping when the Colts were doing their thing. I was asleep and I woke up and I saw it was about halftime. They were dominating the Vikings, and I went upstairs like, "What is going on?" And then, of course,
yeah,
the second half happened. I was like, "Okay, of
yeah.
course I'm awake when this happens."
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that season anymore.
They
Thank
don't.
goodness we have moved past
Yes.
that. So, but
Thank
guys,
you,
let
Jeff
us know.
Saturday, though.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you,
Jeff
Jeff Saturday.
Saturday, for. I'm still kind of mad though that he. I mean, we at the end of the day it worked out. We got our guy, but
Yeah,
like
we got
we had to
Richardson.
freaking go beat the Raiders for no reason at all. But anyway,
Yeah.
with that being said, guys, let us know your thoughts overall on Anthony Richardson. Do you think he should start right away? Do you think he should maybe sit for a little bit behind whoever the quarterback would be, whether that's Gardner, Sam, whoever it would be? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Matt, thanks for coming on, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I always have fun popping up on here, just talk Colts football. Just excited for the season. Let it
Yeah, we got
rip.
you. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. As always, guys, go Colts.